Look at that. So eclectic. Spices are in the grooves. That's insane. All right, y'all, so summer is my favorite season of the year. So every time it comes to an end, a part of me is so sad, but a part of me also wants to share one of my favorite summer recipes and summer dishes of all time. If you haven't guessed it by now, we're making lobster rolls. We've got some lobsters here. We got some live lobster. We're gonna show you guys how to break these guys down, okay? I'm gonna show you guys how to make the perfect lobster roll. I love lobster. When I think of summer, I think of lobster rolls. I think of a beautiful brioche bun and like a nice fresh lobster salad, some delicious crispy Old Bay potatoes. So that's what I'm gonna bring y'all today. I'm gonna show you a few techniques on how I personally like to break down my lobster and how to make the perfect crispy potatoes for this, all right? So first things first, we are going to break our lobsters down. Actually, first things first, let me tell you something. If you have anything to say about this, anything negative to say about this, and you eat meat and fish and protein, animal protein, and you have never broken down an animal yourself, I think you have to reevaluate. Because if you can eat chicken and meat and all that stuff all day long and fish all day long, you can do this, okay? So I'm gonna show y'all how I personally like to break my lobster down, okay? For one, let's honor the circle of life. Let's say I'm grateful to God for the abundance and the glory in my life and allowing me to eat amazing food, prepare amazing food. And to this little guy here, thank you so much for your time here on this earth. You're gonna be delicious. Oh, this one's alive. Prayer. So you wanna take your knife, the sharp part of your knife, and you want to go along this line. There's like a natural little line here. Right here, and you're pretty much going to stab right here and cut it all the way down, just like that. So there's that. Yes, there's gonna be some reflex, obviously, because the nerves. And then from there, do a little twist of the body, like this. So you have your lobster tail. The reflexes are natural. And I'm gonna separate the tails. Oh, poor guys are like, oh my God, what did I just watch? All right. And then here, I personally love this part of the lobster. I save all of this, by the way, because that's where the flavor is. I'm gonna save this. I'm also going to break this claw down right here. Excuse me, this claw. And then I'm gonna save the head. I'm gonna use this for lobster stock. Honestly, lobster stock is one of the most delicious sauces ever. One second, y'all. I wanna do this carefully so I'm not stabbing myself. And then we have that. And then we're gonna clean and we're gonna repeat and clean and repeat. Beautiful, beautiful. Look at all that. This is like literally so much flavor, so delicious. This is why essentially I like to buy the female lobsters particularly. I was like, I want 2 females because I know they're probably gonna have roe. And then I wanted a male female because I love SpongeBob and I thought of Larry the Lobster. And he happened to be the largest one in there. So I was like, oh, that's my real life Larry the Lobster. You know, just make light of it. I'm gonna keep that, take that out. All right, so we have our beautiful lobster broken down. Well, somewhat broken down. We have our shells that we're gonna save. We're going to freeze those. This, what we extracted from the head of the lobster, what we extracted here, these little green bits, is like the Tomalley, and we're gonna whip this with some butter, and once we cook it and toast our brioche buns, it'll turn like this really deep coral flavor, and it has this delicious lobstery, fishy funk to it, and it's absolutely so good. This is like gold when it comes to flavor. So for the remaining part of the lobster, we're gonna break the tails down first. You can totally poach your lobster in the shell when it comes to any type of lobster preparation. Personally though, I like to take it out of the shell and break it all the way down and then season the actual flesh in the meat of the lobster. That's just how I personally like to do it. And that way I can save the shell for a later project. Like I said, I'm gonna make some lobster stock. So we're gonna break this down by cutting down the middle. Like a chiropractor video. Ooh! I love watching those. They come up on my TikTok feed all night, especially when I'm ready to go to sleep. Like, it's my algorithm's way of letting me know like, it's time to go to bed when I start seeing all these like chiropractors on TikTok. So you wanna get under the shell on this side. You can kind of like follow your finger right under where the shell is and the meat is, and you kind of want to loosen it up a bit so that you're able to remove the flesh a lot easier. Trust me, I know that this is a little bit more of a hassle than if you were to just poach the tail whole on its own. Like I said, I think that this way is kind of incorporating so much more flavor because of the fact that you're like seasoning the actual tail of the lobster versus like seasoning the water and then like the shell kind of absorbing all of that flavor. So we have half of a lobster tail, just like that, shelled raw. And then we're gonna do the same to this side. Like I said, you kind of wanna just trace along the shell with your thumb and kind of like loosen up like that muscle tissue from the actual like skeleton of the lobster, because their skeleton is on the outside. On the inside is just like their fleshy membrane, opposite to us. You wanna crack it. Perfect. So just like that, we have the lobster and kind of just pull it out. You can cut it out too. So we have one tail, just like that. When it comes to the claw though, it is a little bit harder to break down. So I'm kind of debating in between if I want to poach it and then crack it or crack it afterwards. But the lobster tail, I'm just slicing in kind of like fairly beautiful chunks. Just like this. And we're just gonna season this really lightly with salt and cook this in a little butter in time. These guys are also gonna break down. I'm really curious about these claws. She's curious about the claws, y'all. Beautiful lobster tail meat. All right, y'all, so when it comes to our claws, we're actually going to pop them into a pot with some aromatics, and then we're gonna bring them up to a boil, and we're gonna crack them after that. Oops. Yes. Be careful when doing that, especially because they still have their reflexes. You don't want to snap your finger. We're gonna cover this with a little water. All right, so we have our claws inside the pot. I'm gonna add just like a few aromatics to the water, just to kind of like perfume it a little bit, add some flavor into the shell. I'm not cooking it all the way in this pot. I'm just doing it so that I'm able to release the meat from the claws a little bit easier. And this little pot will boil in no time because it's tiny. So I'm gonna do that, add a little bit of salt, maybe a little celery. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna begin to peel our potato chips, because You wanna let these potatoes soak in the water while you're building all of the other things, so that way we can kind of extract the starch from the potato. It's gonna help make it super crispy and delicious. So you wanna peel just a couple potatoes. Obviously, when we fry these up, they are going to shrink completely. I absolutely love lobster rolls. I feel like they are like the quintessential summer recipe. Like, we think of eating lobster rolls in the summer, right? Like, that's the first thing I think of. Beach, Malibu, seafood shack, Malibu seafood, get a lobster roll, maybe even some fish and chips. Such a vibe. And then obviously when I think of like lobster roll, my mind automatically goes to like Old Bay seasoning. So instead of actually seasoning the lobster with Old Bay, I want to season my potato chips with Old Bay and kind of just let the lobster's natural seasoning shine a little bit. I am gonna add a little bit of mayo and some celery into the lobster salad itself and a few herbs, but I didn't really want to add too much spice to the actual lobster roll, but like keep the spice heavy on the chip, you know what I mean? All right, now we're gonna slice our potato chips. I'm gonna take my mandolin and I kind of want them fairly thin, not too thick. I want to say like, this is the perfect like house-made potato chip. It's gonna have a little bite to it still, thin enough, not super thin, not super thick. I love potato chips. I love chips. Like, I was such a snacky kid. Love potato chips. They're literally the best. Obviously, you don't have to make your potato chips from scratch. I'm just showing y'all. You could also make French fries. If you don't have a mandolin, you could just totally like matchstick some like rustic, you know, like home fries and season them with Old Bay as well. So I'm gonna add just a little bit of water to cover this. Water helps from oxidizing your potatoes so they don't get that like brown, but that also helps like extract all the starches that are inside the potato. So I like to run the water until it's clear. As you can see, it's like white and milky. So you wanna strain that out. And you wanna keep running water over it until the water runs clear. Yum. I am going to start getting into like our mayo base. There's like two types of lobster rolls, a butter based and a mayo based. I personally am greedy, so I like them both. So I love the creaminess of like the mayo, celery, herby, like lobster salad. But the way I like to incorporate my butter flavor is by actually toasting the bun in butter. But I'm not doing any regular butter. We're actually gonna take this Tomalley, AKA like the coral part of it, and we're gonna add this in with some room temp butter and we're gonna kind of whip it. So let's get into that step. We got this going in. Perfection. We have some room temp butter. We're just going to whip all of these things together. Obviously you could use like a food processor. That would help. I just don't feel like taking mine out right now and having to wash it. So I'm just whipping this butter by hand with the Tomalley. I know that this green doesn't really look appealing and it looks really weird and interesting, but trust me, when we cook it, it's gonna have like this deep, beautiful coral color that you think of when you think of lobster. So this is set. I'm gonna add a little salt to it. A little. Add a good amount of salt because I am using unsalted butter. So now we're gonna set that aside. Our potato chips. Boop, boop. The water is nice and clear. So I'm gonna let that sit right here for a while till we're ready to fry them. Next, we're going to make our mayo-y situation for the lobster roll. So I'm gonna take a little bit of mayonnaise. And I do love like a really fine celery in mine. Totally optional. A lot of people are not really fans of celery inside lobster roll, but I am gonna take like the inner part of the celery. I'm not really using like the outer part of the stalk too much. I like to use a fine, tender really sweet pieces. The pieces that have like the yellow specifically, you could even use the yellow leaves for garnish. I think that's gorgeous. And then we're gonna take the stem and we're just going to slice it on down. And I wanna go somewhat kind of fine on the celery. I don't want it too chunky. I think that's the perfect amount. And I don't want too much celery either. I just want a little texture. It's so interesting because as a kid, I hated celery. I've always been team carrot, but when it comes to certain things, I'm like, okay, I can get down with a little celery in that. So we're gonna add our celery into this mayonnaise, just like this. Perfection. I also wanna do some chives and some tarragon. Something about tarragon and chives to me, like, oh my God. In a lobster roll is kind of just like mandatory. So we're gonna go chives. Comment down below, by the way, if y'all are like team butter lobster roll or like mayo lobster roll, cause I feel you 100%. This is how we chive, okay? She's thriving and she's chiving, period. All right, beautiful chives. I mean, let's talk about knife cuts. Going into the mayonnaise. And before we go there and be like, why didn't she make her aioli from scratch? Just leave me alone, okay? Same reason I didn't take out my food processor to get into the Tomalley butter, coral butter. Got our chives and our mayonnaise. And now we have some tarragon. Tara, I am so gone. Did you guys used to watch iCarly?
Oh yeah.
That was my jam. Do you remember that one? Mm-hmm. Tara, I am so gone. Hilarious. Oh my God, you don't? Tara, I am so gone. I think it was Freddie's mom. And I think it was, I don't know who was cooking. Maybe Spencer? I don't know, but he was making something. And like they were talking about tarragon. I know Freddie was involved. I wanna say it was the episode when that one guy comes in and he's like, the one who's obsessed with Carly. Mm-hmm. And he's like, you'll rule the day. What's that guy's name again? That guy. Anyways, so I have some tarragon and we're chopping it. Tara, I am so gone. I love tarragon. Like, oh my gosh, it's one of the best herbs out there. I'm just gonna go, oh my God, it smells so good. For those of you who haven't had it, it's like licoricey. It's licoricey. That's how the best way I can describe it. But like in the best way possible. Because I don't think I'm a fan of licorice like that. Tarragon is going in there as well. I have a million herbs all over the place. Keeping it really light. And of course, a little lemon zest. Yum. And I feel like we should do the parsley leaves on top, kind of like whole maybe. I love that. Like a few whole parsley leaves, as well as like some whole celery leaves. Yeah, that'd be gorgeous. And we'll just pop them right on top and serve them with a little lemon wedge. We have a little garnish plate. Oops. Some of the lobster claws are ready to come out. I wanted to see a little bit of color on them. However, I don't want them bright red all the way through because I don't want them cooked all the way through right now. I just want to be able to kind of pull the meat out of the claw without having to fuss too much at it. So it's gonna go straight into some ice water. Like I said, I know it's not cooked all the way. However, it is time for some of y'all to come out of here. Okay, so I'm gonna be real with y'all. I lost my kitchen shears. I just bought them the other day. I'm so pissed. They were the Joyce Chen ones, the big dogs that break down everything. I just had an event for Soulfill the other day and a lot of my tools came up missing, and I think those are one of the things. So that being said, it's gonna be nearly impossible for me to break down the lobster claw with a knife or any regular kitchen shears because, as you know, lobster claws need either a cracker or mean scissors, and I don't have my mean scissors. So that being said, I'm going to let that do its thing. I'm gonna take care of that a different day. I'll probably eat that tomorrow for lunch. But we have plenty of lobster tail meat, which I'm going to season pretty lightly with just a little bit of salt. And this is what we're gonna use for our roll. No biggie, it's only 3 of us here today, so this is plenty of lobster meat, okay? But yeah, y'all, I was about to chop my finger off. I was about to stab myself. And then I thought out loud that I actually don't want to go to the hospital today. So that being said, let's not go to the hospital. I mean, I love y'all and I would love to show you how I typically do it, but it's not worth losing a finger. So let's get the show on the road and continue doing what we was doing, all right? Actually, we gotta fry these chips first. So let's do that. We got our oil kind of already hot. We have our potato chips here and we're gonna just pretty much ever so slightly dry them out. I have a nice kitchen towel underlining them and we're gonna begin to fry. You wanna make sure the oil is hot because you want them crispy, but you don't want them too hot or else they'll burn on the outside before cooking on the inside, which we don't want. I think our oil is pretty hot, y'all. And you know, since we mandolin them, you wanna make sure you can kind of like separate them unless you like a double stacked chip. Like you ever get a chip in a bag and it has like 2 chips and you're like, oh my God, this is the best bite ever. So I guess it's totally fine if you like them rustic and eclectic like that as well. But be mindful, they are a little wet and you don't want the oil to splatter at you. So you wanna just go in, let's do a little tester. Let's do that. It's hot enough. Yeah, it's definitely hot enough. All right, y'all. I think we'll do like a handful and a half each round. So that way we can kind of manage. You don't want to overcrowd your oil. Okay, and the thing about when you cook potato chips like this, you kind of want to cook them one time first, which would essentially be like blanching them in oil. And then you're going to fry them again the second time to kind of crisp them up. We're doing this little blanching process with the chips now. Trust me, double frying any potato situation is what's gonna give it life. Okay, little double dipper. So this technique is awesome, especially if you wanna cook something like a gratin in half the time. You can blanch fry them just like this. And it pretty much kind of like takes the initial cook, like the rawness out of them. As you can see, they're pretty much cooked in the middle. They're like see-through. And we're gonna add the rest of our chips. We're just gonna blanch them and then we're gonna add them one more time and we'll have delicious crispy potato chips. All right, y'all, so we have these beautiful lobster shells that I mentioned earlier. You wanna save these. Please save all of your trimming from whatever protein, especially lobster. Like all of the flavor is all up in these shells. Toasting these and making lobster stock is like so freaking good. I used to make it all the time. Back in the day when I was working at this French restaurant, we used to make lobster malfadine, and that's pretty much where I learned how to break lobster down all the time. And the lobster seafood sauce that we made from the stock itself is literally divine. So don't miss out on opportunities for flavor, okay? Don't be that person. So now we got a decent amount of lobster shells, and you could freeze these and save them for the rest of your life. Pass them down to your grandkids. You got some good old, you got lobster. I mean, what I'm trying to say is it lasts a long time. That's going in the freezer. So our potato chips are now blanched. We're gonna go ahead and drop them in for the second fry. And while we're over here, we're going to do a little bit of cookery on the lobster as well as toast our buns. So chips are going down. Like I said, you wanna make sure you're moving them around. If you know, some of them are gonna get stuck, that's natural, but If you don't want them too stuck together, make sure to give them some space. I'm actually also making sure I'm taking a rubber spatula and moving around the bottom of the pan just so that they don't stick to the bottom. That looks great. This little guy's clear. I'm gonna add just the slightest little Old Bay seasoning on this chip. Shall we try this chip? You got this beautiful chip. This is our first taste. It's nice and golden. It's also a little clear because we pulled a lot of the starch out of it. So it has been seasoned. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. With a little Old Bay seasoning, that's bussin'. I can't wait for those to come out. OMG. While these are frying, we're gonna begin to cook our lobster. And we're going to add teensy weensy little bit of butter. When I say teensy, I mean teensy. I'm gonna let that melt. I don't wanna get this pan too hot. I kinda want it to be like super low heat. I also have this pan on super low heat as well because we're gonna be toasting our buns. And you know, we have this beautiful coral butter that we made from the lobster. Gorgeous. I'm gonna kind of slather some on the bottom as well as the top of the bun as well. Perfect. That's gonna be awesome. It's gonna make the lobster flavor kind of shine so much more. And it's just a great way to like use your produce. I'm definitely like somebody who makes sure to like use the extent of everything. Like I love a stock. I love incorporating the odds and ends into everything that normally it would get 86 because you gotta find a way to sustain, but also it's also a moment to incorporate all the flavor. So let's get this little butter on these buns. Butter the buns. Perfect. Once the butter is melted all the way through in our lobster pan, we're gonna add our butter in immediately. Like I said, I don't want the pan to be extremely hot. I want it to be like low, like cooking very low and slow because I don't want the lobster to get overcooked. I find that sometimes when I have lobster rolls, the lobster is a little chewy and I don't like that. Kind of takes away from like the delicacy of the seafood. Especially something like a lobster, especially something that we broke down and humanely killed ourselves. You really want to honor the ingredients. So I feel like cooking it low and slow versus like butchering it and just hammering it with heat is not the way to go. So like I said, the butter is melted. It's on medium low. I'm gonna take the lobster tail meat. That's going straight in. We seasoned it lightly with salt and that's about it. That's about it. That's all she wrote there. I think this is the perfect recipe to send summer away. Like I said, summer is my favorite season of the year. So I really wanted to honor all the moments, all of the grilling that I did this summer, but just like that nostalgic, delicious lobster roll recipe. Like we love that. Who doesn't love a lobster roll? What? And this is the most beautiful way to cook one, honestly. It's like you're really being intentional about all of the ingredients. We're making our sides from scratch, making our lobster from scratch. It's gonna be bomb.com. Bomb.com. Look at this beautiful lobster color, by the way. It looks so fresh. Tell me that doesn't look fresh. Like what? Looks so good. Gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous lobster tails. So I also feel like incorporating a little bit of our Tomalley butter into our lobster. Might as well incorporate some more flavor when we can. This is the true essence of like what lobster tastes like. So I'm gonna add it directly onto the pan and you'll see it change color. It'll go from green to orange. and it makes this beautiful like coral color. So I think that color will look nice coating the lobster a little bit. As you can see, it's changing. It's like magic. So kind of want to just mix it around, coat it. Have that beautiful deep orange color. Such a vibrant color, honestly. Yum. Beautiful. I'm gonna let that do its thing. Just a few moments longer. Our chips are working. Lobster literally cooks so fast. You only got a few more minutes on this before we cut the heat off and we toss this in our mayonnaise base. I like to have like a warm lobster. Like I don't like it to be super cold on my bun. So we're gonna add this into the mayonnaise. It'll kind of like bring it to like a little bit over room temp. So that's doing its thing. Try a little piece. Just a tiny little piece. That's fire. So simple. Clean, salty, lobstery, buttery. That's what you want. That's what you're looking for. So I'm gonna cut the heat off now. Let it do the residual cooking. I can't stand overcooked lobster. So that's gonna kick it. Trust me when I tell you these chips are worth the double fry, okay? The first one was to initially blanch them, cook them through a little bit. The second fry is to pull the moisture out and get them crispy, golden, essentially like kettle chips. We love kettle cooked chips. We love how crunchy they are, how eclectic they are. They all have different little grooves and textures, and that's what we want. Looks absolutely delicious. So another thing about this, when we first started, you could tell that the bubbles were at like a rapid boil. And now you can tell that the bubbles are kind of getting smaller and they're kind of disappearing. And that's essentially because all of the moisture is being drawn out of the chip, out of the potato. So gorgeous. I love the color. I love how fun and eclectic they are. I have a sheet tray that's been lined with some paper towel. And we're gonna pull our chips out now. So our chips are nice and golden, crunchy as we can hear. Right when they come out of the oil, when they're hot, you wanna add your Old Bay seasoning. Old Bay seasoning is such a nostalgic flavor profile for me. I think it goes hand in hand with any seafood and on chips. So freaking good. Set that aside. So we have our pan in the back. I'm gonna add a tiny little bit of garlic oil. And then we're going to get our pans nice and toasted. Like I said, this has been on low and slow. Now that our lobster's done, I'm actually going to move this here, but our pan is hot. Can't wait. You can see a little bit the color is changing on the butter, which we love. We're gonna do that side as well. This side, and we'll toast it on each side a few times. Gorgeous! And yeah, we're almost there. I see the finish line, but when I tell you, it's gonna be so glorious to get the first bite of this lobster roll. Lots of love went into each detail, and that will be tasted. I promise. But if you want to opt out for the pre-cooked lobster, I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad. Especially if you don't have the proper tools, because you need those. I need those. We need those. We need them. Getting a little bit toasty. We have some color on that side. Oh my God, this smells so good. Oh. I don't know if I'm ready for this even. Malibu Seafood Shack has nothing on me. Although that's like my little like midweek drive to Malibu, go to the Seafood Shack, eat a lobster roll, hang out by the beach. But instead we're in the valley making them. And they're gonna be glorious. Make sure to toast on all sides. you know? Do the right thing. Toast them all. Toast all the sides. Look at that. So eclectic. Spices are in the grooves. That's insane. That's crazy. I mean, the buns are toasted and I'm ready. I'm ready to eat a lobster roll. The reason we're really here, although the chips could steal the show, is for the lobster roll. So we're gonna take our beautiful, perfectly cooked lobster that is in the Tomalley, and we're gonna add a little bit of the mayonnaise with the tarragon and the chives. Not too much, depending on what this looks like after it's dressed. I might even just say all of it, but we're gonna just lightly fold up this mayonnaise mix. I think that's perfect. I mean, this is gorgeous. What? Look at that lobster salad. Oh my God, let's give it a taste. Hallelujah. Won't you do it? All right, so we're gonna fill our little bunnies. By the way, the buns are perfect. Perfection. And we're just gonna fill it ever so slightly. We're gonna keep it classy this time around. You know? Keep it classy. I think there's an art to like having the perfect ratio of bread to lobster versus just like mounting it on top. Because what are you trying to prove? Is it delicious, or do you just want the quantity versus the quality? You know, you gotta make sure around people these days. Might as well keep it soigné. We work so hard to get these flavors. So let's let them shine. You know, we wanna taste the bun, we wanna taste the butter, we wanna taste the lobster. Lobster rolls look gorgeous as ever. I feel like maybe like a few pieces of parsley here and there. I mean, I would buy something like this. I'd actually spend a lot of money on something like this if I knew what went into it. Maybe I should just start selling lobster rolls in Malibu and post up. Who would buy this? I would. Seriously. We have our celery leaves. Gorgeous. I mean, we love summer. We want to send summer away, like on a high note. Little lemon zest. And I mean, I think she's perfect. Little plate of chips. All right, for the moment I've been waiting for since I started the day. The lobster roll. I don't know how cute this is gonna be, but I know how delicious it's gonna be. The butter literally is like the background singer that kind of comes through in the middle of the performance and is like, give me the microphone really quick. That's how I feel. The bun is perfectly toasted. The lobster salad is delicate, it's delicious, it's all the things. The chips, oh my God. Like, I think I need to just open a lobster roll shack somewhere on the beach. The parsley on top, celery, like it's perfect. It's clean, it's delicious, and it's the perfect way to kiss summer goodbye. So I hope you guys make this recipe. It's gonna be down below in the deeds. And until next time, peace, love, and blessings. Y'all gotta get on this lobster roll.
Taking my job off the ground.
Oh my God, y'all. This is probably one of the best things I made.
Yeah?